layout. Let's say I have, let's just try this. I have a text, and let's put a rectangle, throw it in the back, and these two items, many times in Illustrator, we would group them, but let's just do auto layout. So to do auto layout, this is where you write a note, Shift A. So you just press Shift A, and now it has become an auto layout. So here, this shows up here.
Did you say A or A?
Shift A, A, B, C, A. And the icon over on the left have changed. So let me undo this and zoom over here. So once I press Shift A, it turns into a frame, but the frame has a special icon. It's not the hashtag. It is a frame that has auto layout applied to those elements. Now what happens is the auto layout has control on different formats. So if I increase this, and I can say, hey, I want the text to be left or centered or to the top right, etc., like that. And there's also margins. So there's these little tiny magenta pull tags, and I can shrink or expand which ones I want. Or if I hold down the Option key, holding down Option, you can see both of them are selected, and so I can evenly do it this way. Okay, or evenly do it this way. And if I have multiple items in here, they will automatically be auto layout, right? So let me kind of zoom out here. So again, I can just click on the whole frame here and say, hey, I want all three of them here. I want the margins, margins within them to be expanded, etc. Okay, so this is really key for creating like complex navigation things and just in general, anything that's a grid structure. Okay, so that's, any questions on auto layout? Yes?
So just now with text and the background, you don't group, but you select them both.
Yeah, I select them both and press Shift A. I don't group it. So grouping, I would say do it when it's more like an image and you're not going to really edit it.
And after that, move the text?
Yeah, so I don't have to go in here and manually, let me show you what would happen if I had to do it. Let's see if I can remove auto layout. So now it's just regular text like normal. And I would go in here and move it like this around. But with auto layout, like you can think about like things that would stack, you can't do that. And you don't want to because you want the program to automatically decide the layout structure. So there are situations where you want to do grouping, like I'll take all of this and just group it all together. So it's just like a traditional Illustrator situation. And other times I want it to be automatically move. Any questions?
Do they have like an auto layout for Illustrator or no?
Auto layout in Illustrator, not to this level. I think they have it to a certain degree. But everybody in this room, you can make Illustrator assets, but everything has to be brought into Figma for this assignment because we're going to make it clickable. Okay, so auto layout done. And while we're doing this, I'm going to show you, just like in InDesign, Illustrator, anything dealing with text, you have the opportunity to create styles. And as you may know, if you have all of these 6 text boxes attached to style, all you have to do is just change the style one time and all of them will change, right? So there is that advantage. So let me just go ahead and do that for one of these and say like, I don't want it to be enter, I want it to be something different. Let's just say you can pick something. You'll notice on my typographic list, it has things that Figma suggests. It's part of their program, and also things from my operating system locally on my computer. So some of these things are not realistic because it's a licensed font. So if I use, for example, DIN, it's not going to work because it's not available on the web. So you want to pick things with that in mind. If you're not familiar, you can just go to, you could just type in, oops, that's Japanese. Type in fonts, Google, and it's usually the first click, so it's fonts.google.com. And any of these is usable for the internet. It's mostly devoted towards website design. So you can make an argument that it doesn't necessarily apply to our particular project, but I just think it's a good habit to select anything that's digital off of this, because many times having that habit saves some headache. So here we see that like Roboto, which is a font that has 12 different styles. I can click on them and take a look at that. And all of these fonts on Google are already on Figma. So I'm going to go ahead and just type in Roboto. And let's make sure it changes. So there it goes, a little shift here. And then I can click on the style. And I have no styles here. It says no text styles are available yet. So I'm going to click on this plus icon. And since this is selected, it just wants me to name it. And if I'm not 100% sure, I can click on Show More Options to make sure these are the settings that I want that's applied to this. So I'll just say like this is, it doesn't look like a header 1. I'll say it's like a header 2. And just say header 2 subtitle. And maybe semi-bold, just make it a little bit different. And I'm going to say create style. Now you'll see that that is the style actually applied to it. Starting with the AG is the icon for that. So I can go to each one of these and click on the tile and then just go down the list now and select these, right? So if I ever change my mind and say, oh, I really want to change this, but I don't want to keep selecting all of these, right? I can just go ahead and click on this. So I click on the name, and then there is the edit style, which looks like little sliders. I can go here and say, you know what, Roboto is so overused. I'm going to pick something else. So I'll do, I don't know, what's a funky one? Let's do this one. No, that one's going to be a problem. Let's do this one. So now it's quicksand. You saw all of them change, right? So if I undo, that's what it was before, and this is what it was. This is with the new style. Oop. Applied. I have to do it again. Click, click. I want to pick something really different. There we go. Well, that's really different. All of them changed, right? So that's the advantage of already establishing your typographic style. I sometimes will not do this until we really get into visual styles, but it's good to go ahead and name which ones are your main titles, subtitles, headers, labels, that kind of thing. You can go ahead and identify that based on the function of your sketches. So based on the function of your sketches, you can already decide your typographic style. Any questions on that? Okay, while we're talking about typographic style, let's talk about color. So people were expressing they were having a difficult time trying to figure out how to use the PCCS color. And I found a easier way to do this and I'm sorry I didn't figure it out sooner. But basically, all I did was I opened this PDF and exported a flat picture, because PDFs you can't bring into Figma, but you can bring in JPEGs and PNGs. So I brought in a PNG, and let's just say PCCS. Click Save. So now here is my PCCS, and then I just drag this in here. Try again, like that. I'm gonna go ahead and shrink this picture. So now when I want to select the color that I want, let's say for this rectangle here, double click on it. So this fill color, click on the eyedropper and this select the color that way. Okay. Sorry I didn't figure this out sooner. But now moving forward, here's an easy way. Okay, any questions on that? So with this color, same thing with color styles. So under fill or stroke, if there's a color on it, just click on the style icon, the little tile one here. Click on the plus and name it. So I could say this is my primary color and say create style. And now you'll see that that's the name. So anything else that I select with this, if I make another rectangle draw out here and say, hey, I want to change this color, I could just click on this and click on my primary color and go like that. Right? And if I ever change my mind, I can just click on the edit and say, you know what, I don't like this color. I want it to be a little bit lighter. Oh wait, that's alpha transparency. Oh, let's go like that. A completely different hue. All of them change. Right. So the power of using styles. As you start progressing in your project, after like 3 or 6 frames, you might want to start establishing it so that way once your watch starts to become a lot of screens, you don't have to go in and try and hunt these things later on. Any questions on color styles? All right. What you're going to do, this is your homework for next class, which is after the break. You're essentially going to make a grayscale wireframe of your sketches. And you want it to be what we call a working prototype. That means it should be clickable and all the transitions should be functional so we understand how it will work. So this is a student from last semester. I kind of modified it, made it simpler. This is from Ayla Taylor's. We saw the walkthrough. And so here are the screens. They will look sort of familiar. And this will be a map, click, click, map. And there's a sliding option, so you can slide and see the compass as you're walking. And then here's another one where you click on this activity. I know it's spelled wrong. And then you finish, and when you click on end, it'll go back. So after you design the screens, you click on the prototype tab. So all the time we're working on the design tab. Now you click on the prototype one, and you start making these connections. And it's essentially, let me erase this one. Once you're on the prototype one, anything that you select is prompting for connection. So you pull on these things and draw it to the next thing. So let me undo that. So it can either, anything that's a frame or an object, everything can be clickable. So you can decide what you want. So if I do the logo, that means only if you touch the logo. If I do the whole frame, that means anything on the screen. In this case, I'm just going to do the whole screen and drag it to where I want it to go. Once you do that, an interaction detail, because I recognize it's making an interaction, say, what do you want? Well, do I want it on tapping? So once I tap it, it will go. Or do I want it on any of these other ones? Like if I have it be automatic. Let's do automatic. So I do after delay, and I don't want it to be pushed. Let's just do a quick dissolve. And let's it's always in milliseconds. So 1,000 milliseconds is 1 second, right? So how long do you want to wait? I would recommend not longer than 2. So I'm going to do 1,000 milliseconds and say that's it. And then when I click on the flow, so I can either click on this one here or just click on present. Either one's the same. After 1 second, it'll automatically advance. And then I can interact with the rest of it. So I'll click on map, click on map. I can click and drag to see the compass, drag back, click to go forward, click and slide. And then once I'm done, allow people to click on the end button to go back to the menu. In this case, I did a swipe from the top. And any one of these, whenever you're working on the prototype tab, you just need to click on that interaction arrow. And if you have enough space, it'll actually have that label of what's happening. So on this one here, I'm clicking on this button, right? And let me just do it. So here, I erased it. So I'm going to click and drag, say, go to this screen. What do I want it to do? Well, on tap, navigate to this screen. And instead of dissolve, let's do something like, let's do push. Push it shows you the animation, what's going to happen, right? So I can either do it from top down, left, right. And I want people to feel like they're always moving towards the right. So I actually want this to come from the right and slide in. And that's it. And then just press, and I can just click out. You can either press play, but if you still have this tab open, it's automatically refreshed. So I can press R to restart it. And then here, click on map, and you see that push happen. So that pushed the screen out. Let's say I don't like it. And say, you know what, I don't like that push. How about sliding in, right? So that slide in, and then go over here, go backwards, click on again, that's a slide. Pretty easy, right? Okay, so what you want to do is really just focus on the layout and getting the layout correct and basically making placeholders everywhere and make sure it's how you want it. All right, so any questions on that so far? Okay, so that's going to be your end goal. I made a new project for you called Wireframes 0313. So we'll see you in 12 days. And click on New Design File. Name it your name -wireframes. And I'm going to do similar that I just showed you with a little bit more best practices. So I'm going to press on F, click on Apple Watch 45mm, and if I keep pressing F and doing like that, it's going to be like Apple Watch 45mm 2, 1, it's just going to be a bunch of numbers. It doesn't make any sense for me. So let's take a look at one of your sketches. Anybody want to volunteer? Joy's. Let's take a look at Joy's. All right. So on her first screen, number 1, it says logo. So instead of clicking over here on the layers each time, it's cumbersome. They know that. So you just select the screen, press Command R. Command R automatically will allow you to start editing. So I don't have to do anything as far as like clicking. So I'm going to say this is the logo screen. Click on this one, Command R. And her next screen is automatically a menu screen. Or maybe we'll say that it's the home menu. And I'm going to make an edit. I think there needs to be one that's called loading. So I'm going to put a loading screen on this one. Allow the app to load. Then she has, it looks like there's a sub menu. So I'm going to press Command R, type in sub menu. And then she has a loading screen. I'm going to call this loading for maps is the activity. Click and drag this one, Command R. This is an actual map. You get the idea? So I would just go ahead and name those first, and then I can select all of these and tidy up the horizontal spacing so it's a little bit more even. And once you actually do that, I can actually space them all together just by clicking on the magenta and giving a little bit more space like this. And then so on and so forth. But I think this is enough to get me started. So I'm going to pause here. Do you want to do it with me, or you just want to watch? Do it with you? Okay, so I want you to go ahead and do what I just did for your design as best as you can recall. So essentially just get the logo, loading, home, those 3 screens at least, but you can throw in a few more. Okay, so I'm going to pause here. I am screen recording, but I just don't trust the technology.
Are you able to get it connected to this one? I can't see the big one.
I don't know if I can do that. Okay, I'm going to shut everything down. Try and do it again. So just to recap, everybody go into the wireframes project folder and go ahead and create a new design file with your name, -wireframes, and put 3 artboards, 3 frames.
Is there a certain size you want? Of 40?
If you, yeah, it's your choice. So the question is, should it be 45 millimeter, 40 millimeter? It's your choice. It's your app. So I think mine is 45. If you're using Apple Watch 3, it might be 44 is the larger ones, but the smaller ones, they're smaller ones. Yeah. And if you're going to design Samsung Galaxy, which is perfectly fine, you just need to change your art frame's shape into a circle. That's all you really have to do. And then you just need a skin before you prototype it at the end. So it's just an extra 15 minutes to an hour to get your Samsung one look good. Try 3 or 4. Everybody's is a little different looking at it, but I think everybody should have a logo and a menu. I'm just thinking loading screen makes it look realistic. Because there's going to be some times when loading is going to be a real thing. And a lot of people don't have loading on your sketches, but I'm just going to say it makes it look real. And if you don't design the way the loading screen looks, your developer will have to design it. And trust me, developers, that's not what they're strong at, right? You may get lucky and get a developer who's really good at designing, but that's not what they're paid to do. They're paid to develop, not design. That's your job. So yeah, nobody has one. You can make an argument that the loading screen is the logo. I can understand that. Okay, let me take a peek. How we're doing? Just press F. So it's this. You can go. The artboard / frame is just this. It's this hashtag looking thing. I just always press F. I mean, when you look at some of the students from last semester, just on their wireframe one, you can see how many screens they had. But they had to do 4. They have to do 4 options. You only have to do 1. Although after you do this one, you may think, well, that wasn't that hard. Actually, you might change it. You might change it. I'm not going to change it. It's still just 1.
Then why did you change it from 4 to 1?
Because we're running out of time.
This is project 2, right?
Mm-hmm. I want this project to be done March 22nd, if possible.
So wait, we're not gonna have a second project? This is the second.
This is the second one. The first one is the icons.
Oh.
So they understand how icons work, etc. This is the second one. We're applying those icons, making use of them. Yeah. Okay, let's do this next thing. I'm just going to make a little. I'm going to press O for ellipse or circle. And just going to click and drag and find a way to put it in the center. Click on the T, type in the word logo, like that, so I can identify it. I can probably select both of these two and center them. Right. So that's going to be my placeholder for the logo. So I'll do it again. O. Then click and drag, hold down Shift, right, to constrain proportions. T for the type tool. Click, type in the word logo. V as in very good. So click out, press V, that gets you back to the selector, the move tool. Select both of these two things. Go to your align, and align center and center. Oh. Yeah, I made a logo frame.
Instructions would be announced via this system.
Is that what you're asking?
I repeat, this is only a test.
Yeah. Yeah, if you can. So the question is this called logo? I just called it logo. You just press Command R and you can edit any of the layers. So if I press on like ellipse here, it says ellipse 1. I don't want it to be called that. I can press Command R and say logo circle. It's just a really quick way to just change the name without having to click and lose where your spot is on the design. Very handy. When you're working in Figma, you'll probably press Command R like 300 times, just to name things quicker. Okay, so loading. For now, I'm just going to make a very boring loading thing. So I'm going to press R for the rectangle tool, draw a skinny little bar here. Press T for type tool, type in loading. Click outside. Again, select both of these, center them, and I'm actually going to eyeball this a little bit here. Click and drag. Take the whole thing, and there we go. You know what? I don't want it there. I want the bar to be in the center, like that. Okay. So that's my loading screen. And then on the home menu one, looking at Joy, she doesn't have a header 1 to say this is the menu, but I'm going to go ahead and do that so that way people know they're back at the home menu. We don't use the term home in wearable technology necessarily, but we use the term menu. So I'm going to actually do that. So I'm going to.
I have like an icon on the other one.
Yeah, you have like a back arrow icon, but I'm going to put the word menu here. Center it at the top. There's a navigation bar area. And then press the circle, click and drag, and hold to make icons. So she has rectangle or square icons. I'm going to go with circle for now. Make it a little friendlier. So I'm veering away from Joy's design a little bit. And I'm going to put in values that I think would work. So since it's almost, the span of this is almost 200, so it's like 198. And you figure like 20 pixels on the left and right, maybe for margin space, and also in the center, so that's 60. So 60, so it's about like 140. So I could get away with 70 actually, 70 on each. Like that. Let's just take a look at that. And then I said that there should be like 20 spacing like this. And do I like it? Yeah, it's not bad. Okay, and I'm going to click and drag, holding on the Option key. So it looks like this. Select both and just kind of like make sure it's where I want it. So these are going to be my icon here. And let's imagine that I select one of them, and so my other screen here. So she has a sub menu. So I guess there would be another. I'm just going to basically select everything I did on this frame, copy it over, hold down on the Option. Sub menu. Should have made this centered actually. If you hold down more than one object, the magenta bar shows up, the spacer bar. So you can click and drag this, or over here on the right-hand side, this is the spacing. So you can actually digitally put it in, or third option, you can hover over the icon next to the spacing, and then your mouse will change colors or change icons. Click and drag, and you can actually space, you could go like this. Okay, so there's my sub menu. And then she has a loading screen on the map, so I'm going to actually grab this again and paste it in here, but I'm going to call it something different just so I know it is working. So I'm going to call it loading maps. And then finally, the last one is a map. So I'm going to hold down a R like that, and then type tool, call it map. Take all of these, centered, center. The more you can get things exact on your wireframe layout, the faster your design will go in the next stage, because you're basically just selecting and changing colors and things like that. If you're just half-heartedly doing your wireframe, the more you have to do in the design phase. So either way, it's the same amount of time. It's just a matter of how you want to take care of business at what stage. I like making my wireframes tight. It just makes it a lot easier for me in the design phase. I don't have to really think as much. Because nobody likes designing and editing at the same time. At least I don't like that. I just want to be designing. So I don't want to be like, oh my gosh, this is not centered. I have to center it when I'm really trying to just focus on colors and textures and those kinds of things. So I just want to get that all straightened out. Okay, so I'm going to pause here, give you like 2 or 3 minutes to make sure you got the screens that you want. Yes.
Going to mine right now.
Go to yours. No. Which one's yours?
Again.
Oh, there it is. Hmm?
Can I use it? So basically, sometimes when I want to make this right adjustments
Mhm.
at the middle, what do I need to?
You just click on it, and you adjust these.
Oh, right.
Yeah.
Got it. And then, for example, like what you said, like for this,
Mm-hmm.
you were moving this text like here, 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 and then what I did was pressing this, hit this, and Shift A.
If you want to do auto layout. I'm not doing that. I'm not doing auto layout right now.
Yeah.
I'm just aligning it to the board. So I'm actually just selecting these two and doing this again, like that.
Okay. What if you do auto layout?
If you do auto layout, you do Shift A.
And then,
So what you did, so if you select these two and you click on Shift A, now it's auto layout and it's aligned to the top left. You can't move this around without using this. So you could say like, and then right now it has so much padding. You can see the padding. So if I shrink the padding and then increase the size, let's see if that, so there's more padding left and right, then you can actually see how it would work. Right. It's just that
what is padding?
it's the whatever the object to the edge. That's the inner margin. I'll just call that. Yeah.
So it's like an imaginary square or lines that.
Yeah, it's just like this. Like
It's-
there's a padding here. There's a margin, right? It's not to the edge. So this, if it was 0, this thing would be all the way to the edge right
Okay.
here. Yeah.
Okay, got it.
Mhm.
Understood.
So I'm gonna undo it. Just we're not doing auto layout exactly yet. Okay. You select on the items you want to press Shift A. I haven't used any auto layout right now on purpose. Yeah, don't use it yet. I probably wouldn't. If you're selecting these 4 things and pressing Shift A, it'll probably stack them. So don't do it. To make it into a grid, it has to follow certain requirements. So you can select all 4. You can see that if tidy up is not selected, it's not selectable, that means if you press Shift A, it'll just stack them left or right. So don't need to do it yet. I think actually you have to select the whole thing. No. Okay, it looks like a lot of people are starting to be done. So if you're running a little bit ahead, I want you to actually look at the type you have. And right now I have 2 loading types and I have 2 header 1 types, right? These other ones that says logo is just sort of for me as a notation. I don't really need to be aware of that. That's not really typographic style. But these 2, I'll probably have loading and I'll probably have menu and some menu. So I'm gonna go ahead and introduce a typographic style already. So I'm gonna click on, let me say the loading one first. So I click on that text box here. Then go over to the text options, click on the style, click on text here, and I'm just gonna say loading for the name. So anytime there's a loading thing, that's the one that I want. So I'm going to say create style. And then I'm going to go ahead and edit this. So instead of enter, I am going to use Roboto, and I'm going to use Roboto Light. for that. And then go to my other loading maps one and then apply the style that I just made. So there it is. Go to menu, click on this, make a new style. I'm going to call this, call it heading one, title, etc. I'm going to call it title, create style, and I'm just going to go ahead and edit the title to make it more interesting. So technically I'm designing, right? But I'm just, I just want to apply the styles now so that way when I go to the actual design phase, it'll be a lot easier. So let me see. I'm going to go to Roboto. I should probably just type it in and be a lot easier. And I want it to be light, and I want it to be a little bigger. There we go, and I want it to be centered. Recenter this. This one, I'm applying title style now.